Someone, when you're leaving church, if you see someone coming in, just tell them God bless them, and we'll pray for you next week. Because they probably forgot. The messiest season of the year is not the cold dryness of winter. It is not the hot humidity of summer. It is not the falling leaves of autumn. The messiest season of the year is the pollen-filled, rain-dropping, muddiness of spring. The season where life comes out, where new life gets made, where new life surges forth. The season of new life, of revival, of renewal, of resurrection. That is the messiest season of the year. It's mud, it's pollen, it's rain, it's gross. Spring is not my favorite season. Give me autumn with the leaves. Give me winter. I like winter. Give me summer. But spring, oh, it is messy. But it is the season of new life. In our passage today, we have the famous story of Lazarus. The story of Lazarus is not just a story about a dead man coming alive. It's a little more than that. The story of Lazarus is actually a story about what we do in church. The Lazarus story is about what happens here in church. It's about not just Jesus' voice bringing a new dead life back to life. It is about the community coming together to work together so that new life can come forward and live again. The Lazarus story is about what we are doing in church. We're not in church just to sing wonderful songs. We're not in church just to fellowship with wonderful people. We're not in church just to share wonderful stories. We're in church so that we allow each other to open space so that we can hear the voice of God calling our names to turn us around, to lift us up, to recognize us, to strengthen us, to heal us. We're here so that we all can have an encounter with God. And we all help each other out to have that encounter. I love the Lazarus story. It's rich, and I won't deal with the whole thing. I'll just deal with this one part. The part where Jesus gets other people involved in the miracle. The part where people whose names were never mentioned are necessary in order for the Lazarus miracle to be complete. The Lazarus miracle is not just about Lazarus getting new life. You know who it's about? It's about everyone else. See, Lazarus, he died. For him, what did he miss? He died and that's it. For everyone else, though, who loved Lazarus, when he died, they lost him. They were the ones who had to deal with the loss. They were the ones who had to deal with the pain. They were the ones who had to remain living. Lazarus was gone. But when Lazarus comes back, that is really not just about Lazarus. That's about everyone who lost him. That's about a second chance for everyone who lost him. When we go to church, what you are surrounded by are people who have been given a second chance. This is a community where we love the lost, where we love those who have been revived, where we bring them back and love them again. But it's a beautiful story. Here we go. New life is messy. So Jesus approaches the tomb. He has a little tip and a tap with Mary and Martha, a genuine conversation about, if you would have showed up on time, if you would have showed up to the hospital room, you probably would have kept him from death, but you didn't show up on time, and rumor has it that you decided to spend another day in another borough. Why didn't you come? They were upset. Of course they were upset. And Jesus had to tell them that I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me shall not perish, and even if he perishes, he shall live anyway. But then also other people were talking, and they were saying, couldn't this man who healed the blind man have kept him from dying? People were upset. People were wondering what Jesus was going to do. So finally, he approaches the tomb, and he has his own emotional moment where he weeps. Jesus weeps. So finally, after he weeps, he approaches the tomb. And Jesus then says this, remove the stone. Jesus doesn't remove the stone. He gets other people involved. Now that is messy work. Martha says it, Lord, it's been dead for 4 days. It's not going to smell good. It's not going to smell nice. That's messy work. Jesus doesn't get near that door. He puts, I don't mean to say it like that, but Jesus doesn't get near that door. He sends other people. He gets other people to do hard work. When you put the stone to block the door, part of the reason that's hard work is because they make sure that stone is blocking that door. They really push it in there. So now you got to do the work of uncovering that stone from the door. That is hard work. Plus, it is stinky work. It is messy work. They are the first ones. They have a front row seat to that stench. New life is messy. It's messy. It's messy. And if we are in church and we are in the business of producing and cultivating new life, if we're in church and we're in the business of being around new souls who are born again and born from above, we have to deal with the fact that being in church means you've got to deal with some messiness. And that is more than okay. Sometimes the messiness smells, but that is more than okay. That is what spring and new life is about. And so they push the stone out. People, what are their names? We don't know. Unnamed people push the stone out and do the messy hard work. Jesus got them involved. And there's a phrase that I love. It says, it's amazing how much people can accomplish when no one cares who gets the credit. So they push the stone. Now, Jesus' voice is what saves us. It's what heals us. It's what turns us around. It's what gives us recognition. We read in our call to worship, the voice of the Lord is majestic. The voice of the Lord twists the yoke. You read line after line about the voice of the Lord. That voice of the Lord is what saves us and what heals us, what gives us new life. Jesus' voice is what brings Lazarus forth. But they needed to move the stone. 1, so Lazarus' name can be heard clearly. And 2, so Lazarus can get out when that voice called him. He needed the acoustics to be better. So Lazarus' voice needs to be heard clearly. So they moved the stone. And in church, what we are in the business of doing is we're removing the stones that we have in our hearts. We remove each other's stones so that others can hear the voice of God calling them. That is what we do. We don't just have food and fellowship and eat and talk. We don't just sing. When we sing, when we fellowship, when we eat, when we talk, when we do Bible study, when we do Sunday school, when we sit with one another, when we visit one another, when we pray for one another, what we are in the business of doing is removing the stones in the way so that God's voice can be heard in their lives. That is what church is about. Moving stones so that God's voice can be heard in all of our lives. Now, there was a famous incident with Mahatma Gandhi, and you probably all know it. Gandhi said, I would be a Christian were I were not for the Christians. Meaning, I would follow Jesus, but then I met his followers